Hi, this is Julia with Livewire Libraries, and welcome back to part 3 of this Unity project. In previous weeks, we made a robot and we made the robot move. This week, we're going to work on camera tracking. We're going to make a ball for the robot to kick around, and then we're going to create a win zone, a goal zone for the robot to kick the ball into, and we're going to set off fireworks whenever the robot kicks the ball into the winning zone. So you might have noticed in our previous video that the robot moves, but the camera doesn't move with the robot. It always stays in the same place. Well, as soon as we move our robot outside of the main area, that's going to be a problem. We need to make sure that the camera stays with the robot. So let's fix it so that the camera follows our robot. So what we need to do is go into the hierarchy area at the top left and select the main camera within the hierarchy. And then what we're going to do is go into the inspector on the right hand side, and we're going to set its transform properties in the inspector. What we're going to do is we're going to change the position of the robot in the transform properties to an X of 0, a Y of 9, and a Z of -5. And then we're going to change its rotation to X 60. We're going to leave Y as 0, and we're going to leave Z as 0. And then in the scale area, we're going to leave the X, Y, and the Z values all as 1. Now, if we save our work and then we hit the play button again, you'll notice that you've changed the camera's angle, but it's still not following the robot. So in order to make the camera follow the robot's location in every frame, we're going to have to add another script. So what we want to do is go up to Assets, left click on Assets, Create, and then C# script. This time we're going to call the script Camera Mover, and we're going to make sure that the Camera Mover script is within the scripts folder. We're going to left double click on the Camera Mover script down in the scripts area. And at the start of the script, just inside the Camera Mover class, we're going to add 3 variables. We're going to add public transform TF, semicolon, and that describes, the TF describes the position of the camera. We're going to add public transform player transform, semicolon. That describes the position of our robot, our player. And then the last line is going to be public vector 3, distance between player and cam, semicolon. And that describes the distance in X, Y, and Z from the robot to the camera. So it's the distance between the player and the camera. Now we need to set the initial distance between the robot and the camera. So we're going to do this inside of the start function. So within the void start function, we're going to set the distance between player and the cam equal to tf.position minus player transform.position, semicolon. And then the next thing we're going to do is make sure that the game keeps the distance the same in every frame of the game. So we're going to add a line to the update function. So we're going to go down to the update function, and we're going to add a line tf.position is equal to player transform.position plus distance between player and cam, semicolon. So the script within the start function is setting an initial distance between the robot and the camera, and then in the one in the update function is making sure that the game keeps the distance the same between the robot and the camera in every single frame as the frames update. Right, so now we're going to save our script and close it, and then we're going to go back to Unity, and we're going to go back into the hierarchy in the top left, and we're going to select the main camera. And then we're going to take the camera mover script from the script area, and we're going to drag that onto the main camera. Okay, now we're still on main camera in the hierarchy, so make sure main camera is selected in the hierarchy. We're going to scroll down on the right hand side in the inspector, and we're going to scroll down to where it says camera mover script, and you'll notice in camera mover script down below that there's TF, which says none, and then there's player transform, which says none. What we're going to do is we're going to select main camera from the left hand hierarchy menu. We're going to drag that and drop that into the TF field. So instead of TF saying none, it now says TF main camera. And then we're going to go back to the hierarchy and select Maze Robo, and we're going to drag and drop Maze Robo down into the inspector, into the camera mover script section where it says player transform. So now player transform has been changed from none into Maze Robo. So then the next thing we want to do is we want to save our work, and then we want to hit the play button to run the game and watch the camera follow our robot around now. Great, now that we've got our robot moving around and the camera following around with our robot the way we expect it to, now it's time to give our robot something to play with. So we're going to create a ball for the robot to push around. So I'm going to go up to the top menu, top left-hand menu, Game Object, left click on it, select 3D Object and select Sphere. And then at the top of the Inspector menu, when we're selecting the sphere, we're going to rename it from Sphere to Ball. Then in the inspector, we're going to scroll down to the transform area, and we're going to set the position of the ball. We're going to set the X to 0, the Y to 1, and the Z to 2. And the next thing we're going to do is give our ball a color. So what we're going to do is go into materials, make sure that we're in materials, and then we're going to go into assets, create material, and we're going to call this ball green. Up in the right-hand side in albedo within the inspector, we're going to select a green color of our choice. Then we're going to select ball in the hierarchy, and we're going to go into materials in the inspector, and materials element 0. We're going to right click on that small circle and then select ball green, and that should change our ball to a nice green color. So now if you save your work and you hit the play button again and you test the game, you'll notice that when you walk the robot into the sphere, it behaves like the wall. The ball doesn't move, but we want the ball to move when the robot runs into it. So we're going to have to create a rule for moving just like we did for the robot. So in the hierarchy, make sure that you've selected ball, and then go up to the components menu up at the top, left click component, and then select physics, and then select rigid body. Save your work and then hit the play button again. And now your ball should move whenever the robot kicks it. So try hitting the ball with your robot and then watch it move. So now we've got a robot, we've got a ball, but in order for it to be a game, there's got to be a way to win. So now we need to add something to indicate that the robot has won the game. So we're going to go back up into the game object menu, and we're going to select 3D object, and we're going to select cube. We're going to call the cube Winzone, W-I-N-Z-O-N-E. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to give this a new noticeable color, such as a bright yellow, by following the same procedure that we followed to make the ball green. Okay, so make sure you have Winzone selected in the hierarchy, and then in the inspector, scroll down to Box Collider and select the Is Trigger option. Then also in the transform position property of Winzone, change the transform position in the inspector so that X is -5, Y is 1, and Z is -2. So now that we've got our Winzone in place, we have to write another script to let the Winzone know when the ball touches it. So in order to do that, we're going to need to tag the ball. So select ball in the hierarchy and then go on the right hand side to the inspector, find where it says tag and select tag just under the name ball. And then choose in the drop down menu to add tag. Click on the plus sign and create the tag called ball. Then go back onto the left-hand side to the hierarchy and reselect ball. Select the tag field again in the inspector and choose the ball tag that you just created. So now when our robot kicks the ball into the win zone, we want some kind of indication that the robot has won the game. So we're going to create some fireworks that will go off at the point that the robot kicks the ball into the win zone. So to create fireworks, we're going to go up into the game object pull down menu. We're going to select effects, and then we're going to select a particle system. And we're going to name this particle system, we're going to rename it fireworks. we're going to select the fireworks object within the hierarchy, and then in the inspector, we're going to unselect the box next to its name in the inspector. So untick the box next to fireworks in the inspector. What this will do is it's going to hide the object so that we'll only make it appear once we're ready to set off the fireworks, which will be when the robot hits the ball into the wind zone. So now we're looking in the inspector, in the fireworks inspector, and we're looking down the list of settings, and you'll see that there's start color, and you can set that to your own particular color. I've set it to red in this particular case, but you can set it to whatever you'd like. And then what we're going to do for the fireworks finally is we're going to make sure that the position in the inspector of the fireworks matches the position in the inspector of Winzone. So the position of Winzone in the transform position area in the inspector was x of -5, y of 1, and z of -2. So we're going to go into the fireworks inspector in the transform position, and we're going to set the x to -5, the y to 1, and the z to -2, so that it's exactly the same as the transform position in the wind zone. And then next what we need to do is add code to make the fireworks appear when it's the right time, when the robot kicks the ball into the wind zone. So we're going to create another C# script, and we're going to store it in the scripts folder, and we're going to call it Winzone. So go into Assets, Create, C# script, and then rename the C# script as Winzone. And then we're going to double click on the new Winzone script, and we're going to remove the start and update functions in the middle of the script, but we're going to save the rest of the script. And so now we're going to type a special script below where it says public class Winzone : mono behavior. So it's going to be public game object fireworks : So in this script, what we're doing is we're saying that there's a game object called fireworks, and the script is going to wait for any rigid body to touch the collider object it's attached to. So in this particular instance, the rigid body that's going to be touching the collider object is the ball, and the collider object is going to be the wind zone. So when the rigid body touches, so when the ball touches the wind zone, that's when fireworks will be created. So the script is waiting for the ball to touch the wind zone, and then it's going to create fireworks. And we have to make sure that the rigid body that collides has the tag ball, because our robot is also a rigid body, but our robot touching the wind zone doesn't create fireworks. It's only the ball as a rigid body touching the wind zone that will create the fireworks. So we need to make sure that we set rigid body having the tag ball, and only then will the fireworks object be made to appear. So after we type the script, we're going to save the changes, and we're going to go back to Unity. So we're going to drag the script called Winzone, and we're going to drag it onto our Winzone object in the hierarchy. Then we're going to make sure in the hierarchy Winzone has been selected, and then we're going to basically scroll down in the inspector of Winzone to where it says Winzone script, and it says Winzone script, and then below that it says fireworks none. We're going to take the fireworks from the hierarchy, and we're going to drag and drop it into the inspector in the Winzone area next to where it says fireworks. So fireworks will change from none to saying fireworks. Great. Now we're going to save the game, and we're going to run it, and we're going to try to have our robot put the ball into the wind zone and see what happens. So hopefully when you play the game this time, you'll see the robot kick the ball into the wind zone, and when the robot kicks the ball into the wind zone, fireworks will go off. And if you've done that Well done. Congratulations. Pat yourself on the back for a fantastic job. Well, I hope you enjoyed our Unity tutorial and I hope you learned a lot. And stay tuned next week for more Made Digital.